Welcome to the most forward-thinking, inspirational podcast on the planet. Prepare to reevaluate everything you've been taught.
They have the power. We have the numbers now. It's all just a constant illusion of control. They break us like horses.
And they can tell us we're crazy. And we can say, well, you haven't seen anything yet.
Everything you knew was a goddamn lie. Would you up and explode like it's the 4th of July? Possessed by perfection in this land, if you're awake, you're the enemy. Every day a new deception. Pick your scene and take direction. And on a search to connect. But I don't wear a mask and I have no regret. Down on your knees, you don't look so tall. Open your eyes and the empire falls.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. This is our year end. So this is Christmas, and what have you done? That song always comes on, and I think to myself, fuck, what have I done? But honestly, in the past few years, we've done a lot. I ran across a post where Facebook had the audacity to show me a post from 4 years ago talking about, I think I posted about, it was my foray into crypto. I got into crypto like around 4 years ago, fully got into it, been aware of it, didn't give it much thought, but kept an eye on it, and then decided in the 2017 boom during the World Series playoffs, the cheating Astros playoffs, 2017, that I wanted to give it a shot. And it's absolutely amazing to think about that spot where I was, and moving forward with it, sort of the gear that I was working with and what I was doing, coming out of certain areas, certain sales, certain growth patterns into different things. What's that saying? New goals require new habits. Man, did we ever set some new habits up? Wow. So it is kind of fun. We're always afraid of the time passing. We always we don't like it. I'm getting older. But the truth is, when you have the opportunity to look back, and I'm thankful for Facebook for that sort of shit, because you look back and you just see how far you've come. And it's unfortunate that we have some friends, some people we know. We all know them. That 4 or 5 years ago, they're identical. They're like 45 years old, 50 years old. They haven't changed at all. And, you look at that and you think to yourself, how am I supposed to position this? Is it sad that they're the same? Or is it good that they're super happy with who they are and they want to be that way and they want to stay that way and they found their plateau? Man, there's absolutely no need for division on anything, really. And that's kind of a thing, when you sit back and you look at this and you think to yourself, you look at your life and you think about other people's lives, you think about your perspective, you think about the information that you have, what you know, what you think you know, what you can apply to them based on you. Truth is, it's all contrast, it's all comparison. They exist. They're in your life for you to witness, your friends, the people you know, your acquaintances, so that you can see where you are. It's a contrast to you. And all the people that exist that you don't know are not a contrast to you. But the ones that exist that you do know, they are your contrast. Just think about this. All the people sitting around thinking that they're fat right now. I'm too fat. Based on what? based on people, based on contrast. If you were the only person on the planet, in this realm, in this reality, and you were fat, you wouldn't even know it. It just is what it is, which kind of is the truth behind everything. Everything kind of just is what it is. And that's a mentality that a lot of people don't necessarily want to grab onto. Like, no, I can control all this shit. You can't really. Before I go any further, I want to give a quick shout out. We mentioned a couple of podcasts ago about the Ponzer Rittenhouse, the meme, the imagery. It's not even a meme yet. No, people aren't even talking about it, but the Sandy Hook kid that, in the story, in the narrative, the crisis actor that was killed as a child, comes back as Kyle Rittenhouse. That was handed to us through our text message, information that we got through our text message system that we do put up here. That is in the show letter notes, 647-338-1265. You can text us if you don't want to email, info at the Mental Mastery Alliance. But we appreciate all these tips, all these things that we should look into, because there's so many people out there that don't want to talk, but they want to hear topics and they want to know what somebody else is looking at. We love that shit. Again, you didn't leave your name, I don't think, but I didn't see it. But thank you again for pointing that out to us and bringing that to our attention. That was a really solid piece. And it added to the conversation, which was great. So, again, if you guys want to have a thought heard or have a question asked or answered or anything like that, just shoot us a text, 647-338-1265. I love how I always have to think about that. It's not in my brain. Not yet. One day. You can also call that number and leave a voicemail. It's long distance if you're in the States. Not so much if you're in Canada. We are in Canada and everything's crazy in Canada as per usual. This is our last episode of the season. We're knocking this one out. This is very impromptu. I actually had a few guests lined up. I like to wrap up my year with the incorrigible Sam Crowley from the Everyday Saturday podcast, a solid friend of mine. This guy is an absolute legend, a straight shooter. You agree with him, don't agree with him, doesn't matter. This guy's going to shoot straight 100% of the time. And he's got a lot of great stuff to say. He is under the weather right now and cannot make the phone call that we need to do the recording. So he's he's going to be one of the first shows of the next season, next year. It's not seasons anymore. We don't do seasons. We're just one giant run-on sentence of a podcast. This is fantastic and we love it. Have you guys seen the movie Don't Look Up with a bunch of celebrities and all of these people? And if you know what I'm talking about when I say there are certain people that when they're compiled into a movie, you know that there's a deeper message to it. And I watched this Don't Look Up. I first saw the previews for it, Leonardo DiCaprio, Meryl Streep, all kinds of quote-unquote heavy hitters. I look at this shit and I think to myself, wow. I didn't even want to bother watching it at first, but a couple of people had said, check it out, watch it. It's got all kinds of mixed messages. And I sat there and I thought to myself, it's absolutely absurd. You'd have to watch that movie 10 times to catch on to all the stuff that they're doing, that they're mocking us for. Because for some of you, for any of you that are new to the show or anything like that, Hollywood is a vessel for having us comply with the system that they're putting into place. They're mocking us to our face through Hollywood, and everybody's in on it. I shouldn't say everybody. I should say all of the big name actors are in on it. All the household names that you know, they're in on it. And everyone that sort of came into it or worked their way into it or had talent and got into it had to sign a deal, had to do something, some sort of sacrifice, some sort of shit. The higher up you go, the more you have to do, et cetera, et cetera. And then if you don't comply, they kill you off. There's a lot of people that got killed off because they were not of the bloodline, and then they entered in and they didn't play the game. Or so goes the story. But again, that story it's part of the game that we're all playing. It's like trying to figure out the game by using the game. I don't know. It's all a part of it. It's all in there. Anyway, that's another convoluted statement, but I will get back to that. I will address that later. But for those of you that are aware of this narrative and this thought process, if you've watched that movie, so many people have approached me and asked me about what it means, how it connects. I mean, it's a story about an asteroid. But how is this, so many people just saw that. They couldn't put it into words, but they just saw the connection between that and COVID. And it's true. And you look at the news, you watch the news, well, fuck, we're all dying. We're all dying of COVID. Omicron variant. Holy shit. The Omicron variant has shut down the IIHF World Junior Hockey. The Omicron variant. The top symptoms of the Omicron variant are on the NyQuil bottle. Nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, headache, sore throat. I'm not even kidding. The Omicron variant is, at best, a cold. A fucking cold. And yet here we are. The world is shut down because of a cold. And is it the world? Who knows? It's just our perception. So we sit there and we look at the news, we look at our cell phones, we look at the internet, we look at the Instagram, we look at the Facebook, we see everybody pumping and promoting all this crap. We see all the major players promoting their agenda. And what does it mean? I mean, if you share misinformation, you're fucked. We can't even talk about Ghislaine Maxwell. We can't talk about the fact that she was guilty of sex trafficking, sex charges. She was found guilty of some things, but not of others. And the Jeffrey Epstein files were completely sealed off because it's worse than anyone could ever possibly imagine. But we're not allowed to know. But yet again, all of that exists inside the game. So if you're aware of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, if you're aware of that, it's because you're destined for more. You're destined to see more. You're destined to understand that this realm and this reality that we reside in is it's all an illusion. So we start thinking about the pain that we go through, or the experiences that we have, the things that cause us personal depression, personal anxiety. And we realize that shit's all handed to us. I shared on in the stories on my Instagram an optical illusion where it looks like you're looking down 3 hallways. But then the guy zooms out and it's actually 3 protruding triangles. It's the reverse. And that's the kind of thing that just blows me away. It's that optical illusion. You've got a little bit of information, so your brain fills in the blanks and it like assumes it knows what it's doing. And then when it pulls out, you're like, holy shit, I'm looking at 3 pyramids. I'm not looking down 3 hallways. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating to look at this stuff because when you can apply that to the rest of the world, we've got so many people out there that are fighting the COVID, that are fighting the Epstein, that are fighting this, that are fighting that. And they're trying to convince people of this and they're trying to convince people of that. And then you've got all these people that are 100% sure that we're all going to die from COVID, fucking flu. Right? But so much doesn't add up. There's no this, there's no that. There's no full story. We're all just trying our best with pieces of information to amass or to assume or to get to some sort of point. But then you see a lot of people, no matter what side of the coin you're standing on, they stand firm on it. I firmly believe that this is the way it is. And because of it, I'm going to get my temperature up and I'm, whether you're pro or anti, there's this beautiful middle ground that accepts everything and understands that every single person's life is completely different based on their perspective. And every single perspective in existence is different because there's no single person out there that could even contemplate what your life is. All they can do is assume who you are based on their life, based on their level of comprehension and based on their level of understanding, based on their experiences. They think they know who you are, and they're completely wrong. There's so many things going on inside your own head. We can't figure this out. We can't figure this out. What we can do is literally trust our gut. Our gut is the one and only thing. I mean, if you think about the division, I'm talking about division. I'm talking about the goal of this whole COVID thing. The whole narrative is being division. Keep them divided. Keep them at war with each other. And they won't focus on what they're capable of, what we're capable of. A divided community, a divided humanity is fucking pretty much useless. We're just running around fighting each other or feeling low vibrational or feeling low energy. But when you start unifying, even within your differences, like why the hell do we have to fight? You don't want the vaccine, don't get the vaccine. You want the vaccine, get the vaccine. Who cares? Do whatever you want to do. Right? But there's outside forces in our realm, in our reality, that are telling us if you don't get the vaccine, you lose your job. which makes people say things like, well, you absolutely have to get the vaccine. And it also makes people say, well, why the hell would I get the vaccine if you're going to force me to do this? It's absurd that you would make me stick something in my body just to maintain my livelihood. It's absurd. There's a Nuremberg trial about this whole thing. This shit doesn't exist. And you can go back and forth and you can look at all the information and you can figure out which side you choose to stand on. I want to believe this. Well, I want to believe this. Well, we're both right. It's 100% true that based on the information that they gave us, if you don't get the vaccine and you kill grandma, you're a selfish fucking prick. I agree with that 100%. If that's all the information I had to go on, that would make sense. I would get the vaccine. Well, I don't want to kill grandma. I've been vaccinated before. What's the big deal? I'll get this vaccine. But then when you add different information, like when you have the ability to see the fact that they're cramming this down people's throats and they're lying, don't look up. Don't look up. The story, the premise behind Don't Look Up, it's fascinating. It's a meteor. The movie Don't Look Up is a meteor coming to crash and destroy the earth. And all you literally have to do is look up to see it. This is the burn. You just have to look up. Just look up. There it is. If you look up and use your own two eyes and look up, you'll see it. But there was a massive campaign. Everyone that was looking up was the devil in here. They were all conspiracy theorists. And everyone that refused to look up was the good guy. The government supported good guy. Don't look up. Don't look up. Right? That is the solid general message that they're giving with this COVID thing. Don't look into it. Don't ask any questions. Just simply accept and believe exactly what we're telling you because we are the authority. This world's lost, it's gone batty. It's to the point where like you can't even trust yourself when it comes to what you think is right and what's wrong. And it also has you redefine what you believe to be right and wrong. Like I said, if you only have a certain amount of information, you only want to go so far into it, and that's all you're going to do. All this stuff is coming up. There's that old Nicolas Cage movie that was brutal, Left Behind. And it's a God story about the rapture. And everybody knows the story, right? But they're pumping it right now, and it's even back. It's back in circulation. It's apparently on Netflix Canada. It's like, this is now movie number 6 or whatever. Nobody watched that movie when it was new. The lies of the top 10 movies, that little tab that they added to Netflix is such bullshit. It's like, here are the things that we want you to watch in order. It's got nothing to do with stats or who's watching what. That's dumb. But society's like, hey, if this is number 1 in Canada, it's got to be good. I should watch it because it's based on the numbers of all the other people that are obviously probably still watching it, as opposed to it being dictated for us to watch. On a sidebar, I was listening to one of my old podcasts and I talk really fast. And I think that's hilarious because when I listen to podcasts, I speed them up. Audiobooks, speed them up. So it must be funny for you guys who listen to audiobooks and podcasts and everything all sped up. And then you come to this one, you got to slow it down because I'm talking on that level. We're getting that out there real quick. I cram 45-minute podcast into 23 minutes. I got it covered. There's all kinds of movies that are showing this Left Behind, this narrative, this ascension narrative, this rapture. I believe that's where we are right now. I honestly believe that we are experiencing the rapture, and the rapture isn't obviously as depicted where people just disappear, but you become more aware, right? The third dimensional people shifting into the fifth dimensional realms, and the third dimensional people not shifting, they're staying behind. And all the people that are on the shift and all the people that are rising and elevating are sort of looking around for other people to talk to. Where do I go from here? How do I find happiness? How do I create this? Am I losing my mind? There's a lot of you out there right now that are like, fuck, I'm losing my mind. This can't be right. This can't be real. This can't be reality. But here we are, faced with it. And it's a crazy spot to be in. But Hollywood's been telling us and prompting us and promoting this whole thing for so long. I mean, you see small things like the CDC adding zombie apocalypse to everything. Is it coming? A matter of time. Songbird was a movie that came out talking about COVID, like as it was happening. Like, is it pre-predictive programming? Are they just handing it to us and we're supposed to do something with it? It's just such a crapshoot, and we're sitting here fighting ourselves. We're fighting our neighbors. We're fighting this, that, and the other thing based on division. But here's the most fucked up thing in the entire world. When you really, truly, absolutely think about it, when you were a child, your father and your mother and you and your brother and your sister woke up in the morning. Dad begrudgingly went to work at whatever it was he was doing. Mom had to go to work because the house needed to be paid for. Bills needed to be paid. And the kids went off to indoctrination camp. They went off to school. And I say indoctrination camp because nobody taught us how to think. They did not. We've not been taught how to think. We think we know how to think. We even think we know what thoughts are, but we really don't. We are thinking all of the things that they told us to think. We are regurgitating a history that they told us is true. And none of us have actually questioned it. And if you do question it, you're fucking nuts. If you go against your programming, you're nuts. If you can break out of your programming, you're deemed crazy and dangerous. And they make fun of you. Anyone that's locked firmly into their programming will absolutely make fun of you. But the family unit was divided from the get-go. Everybody goes off in their own separate way. So when you come back together, there's no unity. There's no family unity. There's no bond. There's no teamwork. We don't know much about teamwork. And how many of us spent our teens and early 20s looking for family, working in the bars, looking for connectivity, trying to fit in, trying to figure something out that felt comfortable? Well, I don't know. I don't know if it was ever found. I don't know who found what. But I do know that when you start tapping into your own truth, and your truth is absolutely allowed to be fluid. So whenever you change your mind, feel free to do it. But this arrogance, and it's taught, it's bred into us at such a young age that we need to be right. And there is no right and wrong, but we need it. We need to be right. We need to know what you're doing before you know, and we need to show you that we know what you're doing. We need to play games where we're going to guess what you're going to say, think, or do. We need to not be able to be like, oh, I didn't know that. It's almost impossible for us to say, I didn't know that. Imagine that. I didn't know that. What the fuck? Why can't you say that? The beginning of new knowledge is questioning old knowledge. Right? Don't question the science, they say too. Well, what the fuck? That's what science is. Science is finding something out and then questioning it and asking it and seeing if something else can come from it. Don't question the science. These fucking guys. Propaganda galore. It's got nothing to do with a cold. It's got nothing to do with a flu. It's got nothing to do with anything other than division. We are collectively getting too close to a higher currency, a higher frequency. And it's up to, I want to say them, but when you really get into it, there is no them. There's nothing other than your experience. Your experience is all encompassing. Where you are, what you're doing, listening to this podcast right now. Right? As I sit here, my experience is not you guys. And I love you guys. And I see the numbers afterwards, and I see the interactions. I see people communicating. I see people talking. The Instagram is blowing up, with regards to more communication, more connectivity. I mean, we're growing in numbers, and we're connecting. We're chatting with each other. We're moving forward. But as I sit here right now, it's just me and a microphone. I'm just talking into a microphone in my studio. Because I love talking, because I love having these ideas, because the more I get to talk about them, the more I personally understand them. And a lot of people are like, well, why do you podcast? Who are you talking to? Well, I'm talking for me. But I'm so very happy that you guys are all here and listening to this stuff and enjoying the fact that I talk so ultra fast that you got to change your settings whenever you turn this podcast on. But the numbers are growing, right? And what does that mean? Well, it means that I'm doing a good job. Maybe it means that people like the sound of my voice. Maybe it means that my message is clean and clear, And why are they attacking us? Why do I have to stop doing what I'm doing? I don't think that I'm harming anybody. I don't think that anything's happening. I'm just free thoughting it up. But I, with these thoughts and with this message and with this podcast and with this Instagram, become controversial. And the truth behind controversy is, if it was true controversy, and if the powers that be, if the they that we keep talking about really didn't want me to exist, poofta, I'd be gone. I'd have no access to the internet. I'd have, no way to share my message, and there would be a true sounding board. But it's not about that. It's not about shutting me down. It's about causing conflict. It's about causing strife. It's about having people not be able to think for themselves. It's about having people hear things that they then question and doubt. And a lot of people will hear a message like mine and be like, this guy's a fucking idiot. Or they'll hear a message like mine and be like, I don't understand it. Or some of them will hear something and they'll get a piece of it, or they'll hear whatever they need to hear. And then they'll attack me on whatever they want to attack me on, which is what cancel culture is. Cancel culture, it's not even real. Cancel culture is just bots. Cancel culture is just somebody targeting something and saying, we're going to unleash on this. And then we're going to have our bot say a million things, and there's going to be a tons of ups and a tons of downs. And the real people aren't really doing anything. In the Matrix 4, the one that just got released, they keep referring to the humans as bots. And I thought that was amazing because in social media, you see bots. You do definitely see bots. Everybody can admit that there's bots in social media. But social media is a microcosm of this world and this reality. We are the existential version of social media. We're on the outside of it. But to somebody, there could be easily somebody controlling it, just like we control social media, or so we perceive it to be. So why wouldn't there be bots here? We've called them NPCs in the past, but they're calling them bots. The same bots that are interacting with you on social media are bots in real life. And in the Matrix 4, they talk about bots. They have this thing called swarm mode, right? Which is also known as cancel culture. And there's another one where these things were dive bombing. Like these things, the humans, like this guy just jumped out of bed and his girlfriend's like, hey, what are you doing? And he jumped out the window and he was used as a projectile to stop the wonder. But they add these things and you start seeing these things. And at first, how am I supposed to talk about this stuff? Because like years ago, I thought I was crazy. I wouldn't voice this opinion because I was afraid to. But that's the biggest coup. That's the biggest push. Right? Whatever you're afraid of, run into it. And I'm not saying jump into a tank of sharks. I'm saying if something terrifies you, ask it why. Find out why. Find out what you have to learn from this. Fear is a great teacher. It's the best teacher. It's a focal point. If you're afraid of something, learn it. And then once you have the knowledge of it, the fear goes away. There's so much more I could talk about on that, and obviously I will. This is the congruent and running theme of the year. Again, this was just an impromptu podcast. I wanted to have Sam on the show. He's not here. I will be joining, I believe, Jeremy Todd on the Positive Side podcast probably very soon. And I might do a swap cast with that, so that might come up quickly on this one. If not, you can check him out, Jeremy Todd, the Positive Side podcast. One of my favorite podcasts to listen to. He's just an entertaining dude. A lovely guy. Also, in the new year, for those of you who were with us before, the Becoming the Free podcast will be coming back. That is with me and Tony from Geek Thugga, Change Your Perception, Alchemic Healing, all that sort of stuff. We're going to have that. We have another project on the go too, Broken Strangers. That one's kind of fun too, where it's going to be a roaming guest host experience where you're going to get kind of tons of different opinions. And that one's going to be fun too. There is an Instagram for that, and you can see sometimes we tag it in the Mental Mastery Alliance. We'll send it over. So if you have interest in that, it's a little bit more aggressive than the Mental Mastery Alliance, but it's all about Broken Strangers. It's all about the simple fact that every last one of us is dealing with something, and that every single person on this planet is just a stranger who's broken, looking to be healed. And broken isn't a bad thing. It's a state. It's a state that we're all in, because that's the whole purpose of life, right? Overcoming things, becoming whole, starting off one way and evolving into something else. So yeah, it's going to be a big year. 2022 is going to be a big year, and it's going to be crazier too. Like obviously it's got to get crazier with regards to the narrative and what they're pushing, this, that, and the other thing. Like it's just nuts. I don't understand. I mean, back to the narrative too. I don't understand how, what comes next? What comes after this? For awareness sake, they've already kicked in Canada. They've already kicked every single non-vax person out of the gyms and out of the churches and out of the restaurants. You can't go to the restaurants unless you're vaccinated. But there's there's COVID outbreaks. They're still talking about outbreaks. They've said that this is a pandemic of the unvaxxed, and they've made us public enemy number one. And it's like, why? We need something to focus on, right? So this is, they can't do Americans versus Russians anymore. We can't go to war. And why not be more afraid of your neighbor? That's more pungent, more powerful. Be afraid of your neighbor. Fuck me. It's a weird spot to be in, but what comes next? What's the next narrative? I'm interested to see it. And here's my call. I'm going to timestamp this one. So the last podcast of the year, and I'm going to be able to remember this too. It's funny. I'm going to mention this. I look at the time. It's 3:33. If you're into numerology, there you go. I think, and you heard it here first, are we breaking news? Well, it's not happened yet, but here's my prediction. The COVID narrative falls by the wayside a little bit. All the rules stay in place and all that sort of stuff. People stop talking about it though, but you still don't have your freedoms back. You can't go into places or do anything. But the COVID narrative takes a backseat to the alien invasion. Oh, Project Bluebeam-ish, that sort of thing. I think that that's what's coming next. I think that they're going to be like, yo, there's aliens and we got to do something about it. I think that that's the next threat. It has to be something like that. I think it's aliens. How fucked up would it be if it was zombies? But I mean, the likelihood is we're already staring at zombies. Zombies are everywhere. People just staring at their phones, not looking up. Don't look up. Check out that movie, ladies and gentlemen. Don't look up. It's chock full of messages. It's just insane. I had such a wonderful year. You guys are, as the year progressed and as our show has progressed, you know, over the past few years, you guys are fucking rock stars. I couldn't have imagined us getting as big as we are. I also know that we're only just getting started. I'm still getting more and more comfortable speaking and talking, having these conversations. And I want to get better. I want desperately to be a better version of myself, a better speaker, a better communicator, somebody who's here to help anybody. If you have any questions, or if you want to talk, or if you have any desire to do anything in, you know, with regards to yourself and moving into the next chapter of your life, whether it's podcasting, speaking, or anything like that, just send us a message, info@the Mental Mastery Alliance. I'll personally get back to you. It's been a trip. It's been a trip. I love you guys. I love this. I love this experience. I love this podcast. I love this message. I love so much about what's going on in such a weird and dark time. But without this weird and dark time, we wouldn't be finding each other. We wouldn't be connecting, and we wouldn't be empowering ourselves to do and be more. And that's the absolute truth. So with that, I will say this, this being the final episode, upcoming in the new year, we're going to have Sam's going to come on the show. I want to have Craig back. I've talked to him about that. He's hard to track down. He's our resident 911 expert, 911. And he's having a hard time right now with the whole COVID narrative and all that sort of stuff. So that might be a rambling, jambling show. I want to get him on. I want to bring back our good friend from Australia, Cherry Bomb. She's an absolute rock star. And her and I have become pretty good friends since we actually met and had her on the show the first time. She's funny as fuck. So she will be back on the show. We're going to have all kinds of, you know, your favorites back on the show and a bunch of new guys. It's going to be a really good year rolling into 2022. It's going to be a really, really solid year for us, for the movement, for everything. Massive change. I see it coming. I feel it. I taste it. It's right there. And just thanks again for another amazing year, you guys. Thanks for everything. I guess then, in the infamous words of Red Green, keep your stick on the ice.
Thank you for listening to today's Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Let the team know you're listening by using the hashtag MMA and Mental Mastery Alliance. Want more motivation? Be sure to follow online on Instagram @Mental Mastery Alliance and on Facebook @Mental Mastery Alliance. And remember, your perception creates your reality. Make it a great day.
You got it, Pontiac.